Welcome to today's exploration, the evolving family, society, structure, and self. In every society, the concept of family has carried immense importance, shaping not only the private lives of individuals but also the very foundations of communities and civilizations. Yet the family is not a fixed or universal institution. It has taken many forms across cultures, religions, and historical eras. The nuclear family, often considered traditional, is only one model among many. In ancient tribal societies, the family extended to clans and kin groups where collective survival depended on shared responsibility. In medieval Europe, family meant household, including servants and apprentices alongside blood relatives. Today, we see families composed of single parents, same-sex partners, blended households, and chosen networks of friends who assume familial roles. This diversity reveals a deeper truth. What makes a family is not simply its structure, but the quality of care, support, and commitment shared within it. Philosophers, writers, and religious teachers have all wrestled with the meaning of family. Aristotle described the household as the foundation of political life, a microcosm of the polis. Confucius emphasized filial piety as the cornerstone of moral order in society. Simone de Beauvoir analyzed how family structures often reinforce gender roles and inequality, demanding critical reflection. Religious traditions, too, have shaped family ideals. Christianity speaks of the family as a sacred unit, modeled on divine love. Hinduism emphasizes dharma and duty within extended households. Islam honors the family as a place of protection, responsibility, and mercy. These different perspectives show how deeply family touches the human experience. In this video, we will journey through historical developments, cultural perspectives, philosophical debates, literary insights, and modern challenges to family life. Our aim is not to prescribe a single definition of family, but to invite reflection on its evolving nature and its impact on identity and society. The family, in its many forms, remains a mirror of human values, struggles, and hopes. The concept of family has always been both foundational and fluid. Foundational because it is the first place where we learn love, responsibility, and belonging. Fluid because the very definition of family shifts across time and culture. In many ways, the family is humanity's first philosophy, the site where we begin to ask questions about duty, love, identity, and justice. For Aristotle, the family was the seat of the city-state, essential for governance and moral development. For Confucius, the family provided the structure of ethical life, where filial piety extended outward to society. Simone de Beauvoir saw the family as both nurturing and limiting, a place where individuals were shaped but also constrained by social roles. Literature echoes these ideas. In Tolstoy's Anna Karenina, families are portrayed as sites of both stability and crisis, showing how deeply family shapes identity and destiny. Toni Morrison's Beloved explores family under the shadow of slavery, where love and memory fight to overcome historical trauma. Kahlil Gibran, in The Prophet, reminds us that children come through you but not from you, urging parents to honor individuality within family bonds. Religious traditions also bring unique perspectives. Christianity emphasizes love as the heart of the family, symbolizing divine grace. Hinduism situates family within the cycles of dharma, where each role carries sacred duties. Islam frames family as both a responsibility and a mercy, where mutual care reflects the compassion of God. Across all these voices, we find a tension, the family as both a place of nurture and a space of conflict, both universal and culturally specific. Understanding family means recognizing this duality. It is where we begin life, but it also evolves as life itself changes. To understand the evolving family, we must first trace its history. In tribal societies, family was expansive, extending beyond the nuclear model to encompass clans where survival depended on cooperation. The idea of kinship was fluid, based on shared responsibility rather than strict bloodlines. In ancient Greece, Aristotle described the oikos, or household, as the bedrock of society, combining economic, social, and political roles. The Roman family, the familia, extended authority to the paterfamilias, whose power shaped both law and custom. During the Middle Ages, family included apprentices, servants, and dependents functioning as an economic unit. Marriage often served alliances rather than love, demonstrating that family was both personal and political. The Enlightenment brought shifts in family ideals, emphasizing romantic love and parental responsibility as markers of family life. The Industrial Revolution further transformed family roles, often separating work from home and redefining gender responsibilities. Religion has consistently influenced these developments. Christianity idealized the nuclear family but also emphasized community as a spiritual family. Hindu traditions reinforced extended households as part of dharmic duty. Islam honored the multi-generational family as a structure of care and protection. Literature reflects these transformations. Tolstoy's novels show families caught in social change, while Gibran reflects on the sacred individuality within families, and Morrison portrays how historical trauma reshapes family bonds. Philosophically, questions of family roles have spanned Plato, who saw family as potentially conflicting with communal justice, to modern thinkers like Daniel Engster, who emphasizes care ethics within family life. Across these shifts, one theme endures. While the structure of family changes, the human need for belonging, care, and connection remains constant. Cultural perspectives remind us that there has never been a single ideal family model. In some societies, polygamous or communal family arrangements are common, while in others, the nuclear household is celebrated. In Japan, multi-generational households are valued, reflecting respect for elders and collective responsibility. In parts of Africa, kinship networks blur the distinction between biological and social family, creating webs of care that extend beyond immediate relatives. In Western contexts, the idealized nuclear family dominated much of the 20th century but is increasingly recognized as only one possibility among many. Philosophical voices help us frame this diversity. Simone de Beauvoir critiqued the patriarchal structures of family, arguing for equality and rethinking roles. Aristotle and Confucius each saw the family as central but in very different ways. Aristotle as political foundation, Confucius as moral root. Modern feminist and care ethicists, such as Nell Noddings, highlight the relational and nurturing aspects of family life. Religious traditions add further richness. Christianity frames family as a domestic church, where love mirrors divine grace. Hinduism treats family roles as dharma, shaping spiritual progress. Islam emphasizes mercy and responsibility, where caring for family is an act of faith. Literature offers yet another dimension. Tolstoy depicts family as both refuge and battleground. Gibran honors the individuality within family, and Morrison portrays family resilience amid suffering. These diverse perspectives challenge the myth of a universal ideal. Instead, they suggest that family is an adaptable institution, reflecting cultural values, economic realities, and spiritual beliefs. What unites them is not structure, but the pursuit of care, love, and belonging, qualities that make any family in whatever form meaningful and real. Philosophy has long been concerned with the meaning and role of family in human life. Aristotle viewed the family, or oikos, as the foundation of the polis. For him, the household was a microcosm of society where authority, responsibility, and care were first learned. Confucius, by contrast, placed the family at the center of moral life, insisting that filial piety and respect for elders were the root of ethical order. In his view, the family trained individuals in virtue, which then extended outward to social harmony. Plato, however, raised a more radical critique in the Republic, suggesting that family ties might interfere with justice by privileging personal over communal good. Later philosophers have expanded these debates. Jean-Jacques Rousseau emphasized the natural bond between mother and child, suggesting that affection grounded moral education. John Stuart Mill questioned patriarchal family structures, advocating for equality within marriage and parental roles. Simone de Beauvoir critiqued the family as a site of gender inequality, where women's individuality was often subsumed under roles of wife and mother. Contemporary philosophers like Daniel Engster and Nell Noddings argue from the perspective of care ethics, proposing that families are central to moral life precisely because they cultivate relationships of responsibility and empathy. These diverse views remind us that family is not just a private institution, but a philosophical question about justice, equality, and the good life. At stake is whether family strengthens or limits our moral horizons, a tension that remains unresolved but deeply illuminating. Religious traditions have played a profound role in shaping our understanding of family. Christianity often describes the family as a domestic church, where love within the household reflects divine love. The biblical command to honor your father and mother anchors family as a sacred duty. In Christian theology, the Holy Family of Mary, Joseph, and Jesus symbolizes devotion, care, and sacrifice as models for all families. Hinduism situates family life within dharma, the sacred duties that govern relationships between parents, children, spouses, and elders. The extended family is central, not only for practical survival but for spiritual growth, as fulfilling one's family role is seen as part of advancing toward moksha, or liberation. Islam likewise elevates the family as a cornerstone of society, emphasizing mutual care, respect, and mercy. The Quran repeatedly speaks of the family as a trust from God, where parents are to be honored and children cared for with compassion. Judaism and Buddhism also add important perspectives. In Judaism, the family is central to covenant life, where rituals like Sabbath meals reinforce belonging and continuity. In Buddhism, while the family is valued, ultimate detachment reminds practitioners that clinging, even to family, can cause suffering. Yet Buddhism also emphasizes compassion that extends outward, beginning in the home. Taken together, these perspectives reveal family not merely as a social structure, but as a spiritual calling. Each tradition treats family as a site where ethical life is nurtured, but also where humanity learns the tension between attachment, duty, and higher moral or spiritual goals. Literature offers some of the most poignant reflections on family, showing it as both a refuge and a crucible. Leo Tolstoy famously began Anna Karenina with the line, "All happy families are alike, each unhappy family is unhappy in its own way." This insight reminds us that family life is not one-dimensional but marked by unique struggles and joys. Mary Shelley's Frankenstein underscores the devastation of familial absence, as the creature's longing for kinship mirrors humanity's deep need for belonging. Toni Morrison's Beloved explores how family ties endure under the weight of historical trauma, portraying family not just as biology but as a collective memory of survival and resilience. Kahlil Gibran in The Prophet addresses family with lyrical wisdom. Children come through their parents but are not of them, emphasizing individuality within family bonds. Shakespeare, in plays like King Lear and Hamlet, dramatizes the tensions between loyalty, inheritance, and betrayal within families, showing how private bonds often determine public fates. Jane Austen's novels, too, dwell on family as both a source of identity and a constraint, where love and duty intertwine with societal expectation. These literary voices capture the complexity of family as a mirror of human existence. They remind us that family is not just a structure but a story, one told across generations, cultures, and contexts, shaped by love, conflict, memory, and hope. Psychology helps us understand how family shapes the individual self. Attachment theory shows that the bonds formed with parents or caregivers in childhood influence emotional security, trust, and even the capacity for love later in life. Families provide the first context in which we learn empathy, responsibility, and cooperation. Positive family bonds nurture resilience, while fractured or abusive family environments often leave deep scars. Developmental psychology highlights how identity is formed in dialogue with family. Children absorb values, language, and worldviews from those around them, while adolescence often involves a negotiation between independence and familial influence. Psychologists such as Erik Erikson propose that stages of development are closely linked to how we navigate family relationships, from trust in infancy to intimacy and generativity in adulthood. Modern psychology also considers non-traditional families. Studies show that children raised in single-parent or same-sex households thrive just as well as those in nuclear families when love, stability, and support are present. This underscores the argument that family strength is defined by quality of care rather than rigid structure. Cross-cultural psychology adds nuance, revealing that collectivist cultures emphasize interdependence in family, while individualist societies stress autonomy. Ultimately, psychology demonstrates that family is the first and most enduring influence on human development. It shapes not only who we are, but also how we relate to others, making it one of the most powerful forces in the formation of identity. In the modern era, family forms have expanded far beyond the nuclear model that dominated much of the 20th century. Single-parent families, blended families, and same-sex parenting households are increasingly recognized as valid and meaningful expressions of kinship. Multi-generational households have also returned as economic and cultural forces bring grandparents, parents, and children under the same roof. In some communities, cooperative or chosen families form when individuals create networks of support outside traditional kinship lines. This diversity challenges the idea that there is a single ideal family structure. Studies consistently show that what matters most for well-being is not the form but the function of family, the presence of love, stability, and care. Same-sex couples, for instance, often demonstrate high levels of intentionality and resilience in parenting, while single parents frequently balance immense responsibilities with deep devotion to their children. Blended families highlight both the challenges of integration and the possibilities of building new bonds. Sociologists note that the evolution of family is not random but shaped by wider forces: economic shifts, legal recognition of diverse unions, gender equality movements, and technological changes in reproduction. The rise of reproductive technologies like IVF and surrogacy has expanded definitions of parenthood, while migration and globalization have introduced cross-cultural forms of kinship into urban centers. Ultimately, modern family forms reflect humanity's adaptability. They testify to the enduring human need for connection and care, even as the structures through which we pursue them continue to evolve. Contemporary families face new and pressing challenges. Economic inequality places strain on households, as the rising cost of living, housing, and education creates constant financial pressure. Many families are stretched thin between multiple jobs and long hours, leaving less time for bonding. These stresses can amplify conflict, erode resilience, and create intergenerational cycles of struggle. Technology, too, presents both opportunities and challenges. While it allows families to stay connected across distance through video calls and social media, it can also fragment attention and diminish face-to-face interaction. Children and parents alike struggle with balancing screen time and quality time. Additionally, the acceleration of global communication exposes families to diverse values, sometimes causing generational tensions around identity, tradition, and morality. Mental health has become another urgent issue. Families are both a source of support and at times a source of strain. Depression, anxiety, and addiction affect not only individuals but the fabric of the entire household. When resources are scarce or stigma prevents open dialogue, families can fracture instead of heal. Yet resilience is a recurring theme. Families often respond to these challenges with creativity, creating support networks, embracing flexible roles, or using technology intentionally to strengthen rather than weaken connection. These challenges remind us that family is not static but an adaptive institution, tested and reshaped by every era. Families are not only places of care but also of power. Gender roles have historically structured authority within the household, often privileging men as breadwinners and decision-makers while limiting women to domestic roles. This dynamic has been challenged for centuries, from early feminist critiques to contemporary movements for equality. Philosophers like John Stuart Mill argued that unequal family structures mirrored and reinforced broader societal oppression. Simone de Beauvoir exposed how women's identities were shaped by the roles of wife and mother, often at the cost of individuality. Today, feminist and queer theorists highlight the family as a site where power is contested, from control over reproduction to the recognition of diverse identities. Cultural norms deeply influence these dynamics. In some societies, patriarchal traditions remain strong, while in others, families are increasingly egalitarian. The rise of dual-income households has shifted domestic labor dynamics, though studies reveal that women often continue to carry the majority of caregiving responsibilities. Men, meanwhile, are increasingly encouraged to embrace nurturing roles once dismissed as feminine. Power also extends beyond gender. Questions of age, income, and cultural authority shape who makes decisions, who is heard, and who is silenced. These dynamics are not inherently negative but must be examined, as unequal power can breed conflict, while shared power fosters respect and growth. The evolution of roles within families reflects broader struggles for justice and equality in society. When families embody fairness, they become a model for how communities and nations might also thrive. Families do not exist in isolation. They are woven into the fabric of community, influencing and being influenced by the larger social world. Strong families contribute to strong communities by teaching values of trust, cooperation, and care that extend outward. Children raised in stable, loving households are more likely to participate actively in civic life, while fractured families often reflect and magnify broader social fractures. Sociologists describe the family as both a private and public institution. Privately, it is a source of intimacy, belonging, and security. Publicly, it is a building block of social order as it shapes the workforce, the next generation of citizens, and the moral character of society. Religion often echoes this dual role, portraying family as a sacred unit that also serves the common good. At the same time, community support is essential for family survival. Public policies on childcare, healthcare, and education profoundly shape the capacity of families to thrive. In societies with strong communal networks, families are less isolated and better able to meet challenges. Conversely, when families are left to struggle alone, inequality deepens. The relationship between family and community is reciprocal. Families generate the trust and solidarity that make communities resilient, while communities provide the resources and structures that allow families to flourish. Recognizing this interdependence helps us see that family life is not only personal but profoundly political and social. While we often assume our own cultural model of family is universal, the truth is that families take radically different forms across the globe. In many indigenous cultures, kinship networks extend far beyond the nuclear household, incorporating cousins, aunts, uncles, and even non-blood relations into an expansive community of care. These extended family models highlight how belonging and responsibility can be distributed widely. In East Asian traditions, influenced by Confucian philosophy, filial piety, respect and duty toward parents and ancestors, remains central to family life. Here, the moral weight of maintaining harmony within the family is seen as foundational to the harmony of society itself. In contrast, many Western societies have historically emphasized the autonomy of the nuclear family, privileging independence over interdependence. Religious traditions further illuminate this diversity. In Hinduism, the family is seen as both a social and spiritual unit, with rituals linking generations through sacred practice. In Islam, family is described as a central institution ordained by God, balancing rights and responsibilities among spouses, children, and elders. Christianity, too, emphasizes family as both a natural bond and a spiritual metaphor for community. Anthropologists remind us that family diversity is not chaos but adaptation. The forms families take reflect economic realities, climate, social structures, and cultural values. Learning from these variations expands our imagination of what family can be. It also helps us see that the strength of family lies not in uniformity but in its ability to meet the needs of those it serves. The future of family is inseparable from technology. Digital tools have already reshaped how families communicate, from grandparents video chatting across continents to online platforms where parents share advice. Social media creates both opportunities for connection and risks of comparison or disconnection. Children now grow up in worlds where their milestones are documented online, raising questions of privacy, identity, and consent. Technology also expands possibilities for family formation. Advances in reproductive technologies like in vitro fertilization, surrogacy, and genetic engineering challenge traditional definitions of parenthood. LGBTQ+ families in particular have embraced these technologies to create loving households, reshaping assumptions about who can and should become parents. Artificial intelligence and robotics may even play a role in caregiving, assisting with elder care or household management. While this raises ethical concerns, it also highlights how deeply intertwined family life is with technological innovation. At the same time, virtual communities, online groups that function as chosen families, show how kinship can emerge outside physical proximity. Philosophers caution us to consider what is gained and what is lost. Does technology enhance human connection or risk replacing it? Do we risk reducing family bonds to mere efficiency? These questions remind us that technology is a tool, not a replacement for love, care, and responsibility. The future of family will depend on how wisely we integrate these tools into our most intimate relationships. To continue exploring the evolution of family, I've curated resources across books, podcasts, and websites. Each one offers a unique perspective on the questions we've raised. Among the books, Simone de Beauvoir's The Second Sex is essential for understanding how gender roles within family life have shaped and constrained identity. Kahlil Gibran's The Prophet provides poetic meditations on love, marriage, and children, offering wisdom that transcends cultural boundaries. Leo Tolstoy's Anna Karenina presents a sweeping portrait of family, love, and betrayal, capturing the complexity of personal and social obligation. Toni Morrison's Beloved powerfully explores how trauma and history shape the bonds of family and community. Daniel Engster's Family Ties and Moral Obligations delves into the ethics of care and responsibility, a philosophical examination of why families matter. Finally, Sophie Lewis's The Abolition of the Family challenges us to think beyond traditional structures and consider radical alternatives for kinship and care. The podcasts bring these themes into contemporary dialogue. Stephen West's Philosophize This is a fantastic entry point for philosophical ideas, including ethics and social institutions like the family. Krista Tippett's On Being offers intimate interviews on meaning, belonging, and human connection, often circling back to family life. The Partially Examined Life brings a more conversational but deeply analytical approach, engaging with philosophical texts that illuminate our topic. As for websites, the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy provides rigorous, peer-reviewed entries on concepts like family, community, and moral responsibility. Aeon Essays presents accessible and thought-provoking essays at the intersection of philosophy, culture, and lived experience. And the Internet Encyclopedia of Philosophy is another excellent scholarly resource, offering clarity and depth for anyone wishing to expand their understanding. Each of these resources deepens our perspective on family, whether by challenging assumptions, offering historical context, or presenting radical new possibilities. Taken together, they form a toolkit for rethinking how we define, live, and transform family in our lives and societies. As we conclude this exploration of the evolving family, we return to a simple yet profound truth. Family is not static. It changes across time, culture, and circumstance. What defines family is not its form, but its function, the care, responsibility, and love shared among its members. We have seen how families have shifted from tribal networks to nuclear households, how they differ across cultures, and how they continue to diversify in our own era. We've examined challenges like economic strain, technology, and changing gender roles, and we've reflected on the role families play in shaping community and society. Religion, literature, and philosophy each offer their own wisdom. Christianity, Hinduism, and Islam highlight the sacred duty of care within families. Writers like Gibran, Tolstoy, and Morrison capture the beauty and tragedy of family bonds. Philosophers such as Aristotle, de Beauvoir, and Confucius remind us that family is at once deeply personal and profoundly political. Looking to the future, we see possibilities both exciting and unsettling. Technology will reshape family structures, but it cannot replace the human need for connection. Globalization will challenge traditions, but it will also expand our sense of belonging. The task before us is to honor the diversity of families and to support them in all their forms. By focusing on care, fairness, and responsibility, we create not only stronger families but also stronger communities and societies. Perhaps the real question is not, what is the ideal family, but rather, how can we make the families we have more caring, more just, and more resilient? In answering this, we shape not only our households but the very fabric of humanity itself.